It's Wednesday the 8th of April and this video is looking at the first signs of spring in the trees. We're leaving behind a holly and going past a cherry that hasn't yet flowered, and you can see a weeping willow in the distance which is already quite green, and then the next green on the right hand side is a horse chestnut, and then coming closer you can see the very distinctive white bark of a silver birch, another cherry tree here, and the next tree covered in ivy is also just greening up, and that's a hornbeam tree. As that's quite an unusual species, we'll focus in on this. This is the tree that in the autumn and winter months the hawfinches prefer probably above all others, and we have several hornbeams in the cemetery. Just going to see if I can get a bit closer to the leaves, the fresh leaves and the catkins. You can just see them on this tree here, and I'm just going to move up this tree just to see if you can see the bark. So probably the closest tree, if you think of a beech tree, but it's not quite as smooth, but that seems to be the nearest tree. Coming across here, there's another tree covered in ivy, and the leaves at the bottom are just emerging, look like sycamore. Just trying to see the tree. Yes, it is a large sycamore tree, and we see that there's quite a lot of ivy on these trees, which is good for gold crests, and there is a tree creeper in the area sometimes, so that'll provide food for both of those. The ivy seems to have got a bit out of control here, and you can see it's all on the ground as well. It's going towards the horse chestnut tree. So this horse chestnut tree is a lot smoother than the one last week next to the walnut tree. I can hear a blackcap singing across the railway line. Then there's a tree next to the horse chestnut which isn't in leaf at all. So the leaves you can see are the horse chestnut, but the next tree is an ash, and that's one of the last trees. It's probably the last deciduous tree to come out here. You can look at that bark because we didn't look at that last week. They get more ridges in the older they get. And the next tree to it is a sycamore. Now the sycamore is another one of these trees that has flaky bark that often comes off, and you can see it has flaked off in a couple of places, leaving a bare patch underneath. Then there's a ubiquitous Lelandii, which can be a bit of a blight, but I have found locally that greenfinches like nesting in Lelandii, and greenfinches of course have suffered quite a big decline, although locally they are recovering. We currently get about 5 or 6 in the garden. There is a cull tit singing, which has now stopped, but you can hear a great tit instead. And there's some variegated holly, and looking across you can see more weeping willows in leaf. So quite a lot has happened in a week. A lot of trees have come out, have burst into leaf, and probably apart from the ash trees, the other trees will probably be in leaf this time next week, especially if it carries on being fairly warm. So you can hear a woodpigeon, "Take 2 coos, Taffy, take 2 coos, Taffy, take 2. That was also stopped. Thanks for your time.